Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for another edition of the news on Label TV, your Pan-African channel. Watch the headlines, but first we open this newscast. You first watch the headlines with Gauthier per channel.
Heard by the French justice on December 13th, the brother of former president of Burkina Faso refused to be handed over to the judicial authorities of Ouagadougou. The file was returned to March 7th, 2018. Buthelezi uses waste to create a rare art form. His aim is to help raise awareness around the importance of recycling and saving the environment.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, as I was saying and as announced in the headlines. Heard by the French justice on December 13, the brother of the former president of Burkina Faso refused to be handed over to the judicial authorities of his countries in Ouagadougou. The file was returned to March 7, 2018. Get the story in this report.
François Compaoré, the brother of the former president of Burkina Faso, who was arrested on October 29 at the Roissy-Charles de Gaulle airport in Paris before being placed under judicial control, was heard on December 13, 19 years to the day after the murder of investigative journalist Nobel Zongo by the Paris Court of Appeal, according to a statement from the Burkinabe Ministry of Justice. This hearing is part of Ouagadougou's request for extradition to the French authorities. We quote, to the question of knowing, as the procedure requires, whether he agreed to be handed over to the judicial authorities of Burkina Faso to be tried, Mr. Paul-François Compaoré replied no. The file was then returned to March 7, 2018, the statement said. Asked about the procedure during his visit to Ouagadougou on November 28, the French President Emmanuel Macron, while stating that the French justice is independent, had assured no doubt that the response to the request extradition would be favorable, an issue that also wishes the President of Burkina Faso, Roch-Marc Christian Kaboré. For their part, François Compaoré's lawyer doubt the success of the procedure, especially since, although it has not been applied for years, the death penalty is still in force in Burkina Faso. François Compaoré, who was subject to an international arrest warrant since the 5th of May, is accused of incitement to murder following the death of Nobel Zongo, editor of the weekly L'Indépendant, and 3 of his companions, December 13, 1998. The journalist was investigating at the time of David Ouedraogo, the driver of François Compaoré. An independent commission of inquiry, in short IEC, set up under popular pressure, established a few months later that the journalist was killed in the course of his duties, but the file has long remained in the drawers before to be reopened thanks to the fall of the Blaise Compaoré end of October 2014.
In the same line, the 2018 budget of Cameroon stands at 4,513 billion CFA francs. It was adopted by the Parliament during the November sessions of the National, the National Assembly and Senate. The one-month session dropped curtains yesterday in Yaoundé after several deliberations on issues affecting the country. The Social Democratic Front, the main opposition party in the country that staged series of boycotts during plenary sittings, granted a press conference to explain their actions in support of the said Anglophone crisis. Here is the reaction of the Honorable Member of Parliament, Joseph Banadem, a member of the SDF, and he is equally a member of the Parliament, President of the Parliamentary Group. Listen.
We are saying that Cameroonians should understand what we did, that we are crying for a country which is about to collapse. We are crying for our children who are indefinitely in detention. We are crying for our children who are not going to school. We are crying for soldiers and citizens who are dying on daily basis. That is the message we are sending by blocking Parliament so that they should not read the budget which has no meaning.
In brief and images, the opposition party's primary, the Social Democratic Front, in short SDF opposition, will be held in October 2018. Everything will be played between two candidates, Joshua Oshie and John Frundi. Less than a year from the presidential elections in October 2018, the Social Democratic Front, the main opposition party and coalition in the country, is looking for a candidate whom he should choose at its Congress in February. Two contenders clash. Joshua Oshie, who was convinced by the young party, God, and John Frundi, the memo, the irremovable boss of the movement. According to our sources, this last did not give up to seek again the presidency of Cameroon. It is pushed by historical figures of the SDF, Joseph Mbandam and Joseph Banadem and Joseph Tsumelu. This old guy tried to oust Oshie on the grounds that he violated the party's rules by taking advantage of his media interventions to unveil his ambitions. The maneuver failed, but it forced the two rivals to explain at the beginning of the September. Since then, instructions had been given not to hear the internal debates. Listen, and this was the brief. Now, let's talk about economy in this newscast. While on a visit to Benin, Christine Lagarde, the director of the International Monetary Fund, the international organization, applauded the performance of the economy of the country. Get the commentary.
She also announced that in 2018, growth forecast could reach 6%. The result, according to her, is because the government respects the commitments it made.
You heard the determination to tackle poverty reduction by spending better and more in the field of education and health. And you had the ambition to establish the rules of good governance to encourage investors to look at Benin with a favorable perspective. I believe that in these major areas, clearly your government is demonstrating that it can keep its word.
Benin has concluded with the International Financial Institution an economic and financial program of 127 million euros to reduce poverty in the country. According to the President Patrice Talon, his country is paving the path of rebirth.
Par le travail, par le sérieux, par la bonne gouvernance.
Through work, seriousness, good governance, well-informed reforms, sacrifice, the fight against impunity, we can get out of poverty and begging.
On peut sortir de la pauvreté et de la mendicité.
Despite this support, the Beninese economy remains dependent on Nigeria. The oil giant suffers drastic drop in oil prices, and the consequences are reflected in neighboring countries.
In the same line, Mohammed VI initialed Monday, December 11, 26 partnership agreements, including with the French groups Renault and PSA Peugeot Citroën, for the establishment of as many factories of subcontractors. Get the summary in the story.
A signing ceremony was held December 11 at the Royal Palace of Casablanca to formalize a series of investment agreements between Morocco and car manufacturers, first and foremost the French Renault and PSA Peugeot Citroën, and equipment manufacturers for the establishment of 26 automobile subcontractor factories representing 1.23 billion euros of investment. Among these agreements, 13 concern PSA and 6 are concluded with Renault in order to develop their ecosystem within the kingdom. Note also that 2 agreements signed with the French equipment manufacturer Valeo, and the 5 remaining investments concerning the development of cabling and connectivity ecosystem. This ceremony was held a few days after the signing of another agreement in the same field, this time with the Chinese car manufacturer BYD, aiming at the establishment of an electric car factory near Tenjie, and 3 other entities, one producing electric batteries, the other producing electric buses and trucks, and the last electric trains. No information was available on the amount of these investments, nor on the date of commissioning of the sites, which should spread over 50 hectares and allow the creation of 2,500 jobs. Important to remind, this sector became the largest export sector of the kingdom in 2014 when Morocco's export reached 39.8 billion dirhams, thus 3.65 billion euros, ahead of agribusiness and phosphates. In 2015, the automobile sector became the second largest export sector before returning to the top in 2016 with 345,000 vehicles produced and 6 billion euros in sales, of which 85% was made abroad, and the sector targets 10 billion euros by 2020.
Still talking about economy in this newscast, in brief and images, Nigerian business mogul and Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote. Everything will be played, I meant to say, in this newscast, and now get the previous element. So Aliko Dangote has been named the richest African man. Furthermore, now listen to the next report.
Developed with the objective to provide quality eye services to Cameroonians and patients from the Central African sub-region, the Maghrabi ICO Cameroon Eye Institute was officially inaugurated on March 29, 2017 by Prime Minister, Head of Government Philemon Yang. Many specialized eye care services are offered thanks to a group of well-trained experts.
We also perform glaucoma operations, retinal detachment operations, and we have a special pediatric ophthalmology unit which caters for the needs of children. We have a team comprised of pediatric ophthalmologists, anesthetists, and all that is required to provide pediatric eye care services. So we have a retina department for disease of the retina and vitreous. We have a glaucoma department. We have a cataract department. We have a glaucoma department. We have pediatric ophthalmology. We have cornea and refractive surgery.
The Maghrabi ICO Cameroon Eye Institute has for the past 9 months increased its records in terms of consultation and refractive surgeries.
Well, in terms of statistics, I must say we have seen about 20,000 patients since we went operational. And in addition to that, we have performed more than 700 operations, most of them sight restoring. These cover all the subspecialties that you can think of. Most of them are cataract, of course, because that's the leading cause of blindness and visual impairment. But also we have performed the first LASIK, corneal refractive surgery in Central Africa.
Talking to some patients who have been affected by eye diseases for several years now, they said the eye hospital comes as a relief. Many travel from the Central African Republic, Equatorial Guinea, and other neighboring countries to be cured.
Okay, actually, I have an iris prolapse, which I have gone through a cornea graft. Oh, the service quality is good. They have all the equipment, the necessary equipment, and they really attend to the patients and make you feel
countries to be cured. Being a project of the African Eye Foundation, the Maghrabi ICO Cameroon Eye Institute accompanies governments to pursue their health policies in the domain of eye treatment.
Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for this slight mix-up. It was due to a technical error. So your previous report you were watching, we were in health as newly created reference hospital specialized in the treatment of eye diseases in Cameroon welcomes thousands of patients. The Maghrabi ICO Cameroon Eye Institute, situated in the locality of Obak in the outskirts of Yaoundé, the capital, is the focus of the report gathered by our correspondent Elise Kenibeni that you just watched. So now, let's talk about an innovation, and we move straight to culture in this newscast as Bongeni Buthelezi is using his art form to help to help raise awareness around the importance of recycling and saving the environment. Listen to the focus.
He combines his artistic passion with a love for recycling and created a completely new art form in which he melts plastics onto canvas. Growing amounts of plastic waste is one of the world's biggest challenges today. Despite its harm on the atmosphere, plastic production is increasing. The sector continues to provide economic growth and job opportunities in many countries, but at the cost of the environment. However, increased efforts to fight climate change has led to more measures around reducing pollution. Recycling has become a key component of these measures. South African-born Bongeni Buthelezi, known as the artist who paints with plastic, is adding his voice to this important issue.
I would say it's plastic collage. I use plastic as a form of paint in my work without actually melting it. I soften it and stick it onto another type of plastic to work with. It's about melting actually, but not changing the form into a different solution.
It is estimated that there are 8 million tons of waste in the sea, 40% of which was originally dumped on land. Fighting the rising tide of plastic pollution would take a long-term sustainable solution to overcome. Joining the cause here on African soil has become more apparent than history reveals.
Difficult, that is why it took almost 26 years for me, to get to the level where I am right now. I started experimenting with plastics way back in 1991, when, things were not so easy for me to access your traditional materials like oil paints and watercolors. So the easiest was for me to look around and, possibly, use whatever I could find.
In his recent exhibition titled Sugar Tax, Buthelezi used plastic soda bottles and caps to highlight health issues around excessive sugar intake and related diseases like obesity and diabetes. This unexplored art form soon drew the attention of galleries and art critics across the country. Internationally too, Bongeni has exhibited his unique, socially provoked artwork overseas, gracing numerous private and public collections. Being one of the only artists to experiment with plastics, Bongeni has become a pioneer and global icon in the industry. Over the years, his art has received many accolades, but it's taken a long time to get here. Bongeni recalls his early years as a struggling artist who could not make ends meet. Now that he's an accomplished artist, he feels it's important that his art has purpose. Bongeni's new work titled Captured includes the use of fences, gates, locks and plastics, depicting how South Africans need to make choices to better their future and current circumstances. As art teaches you, he stands by his work being open to different interpretations.
In the same line, 33-year-old Omo Bello is a Nigerian soprano singer who performed at a soprano concert and sang a Puccini aria in the Moson Music School Wednesday, December 13, 2017. This event took place in the country's economic capital, Lagos, Nigeria, and surprised many spectators, according to social media. More information reported by Georgina Mpiga.
Omo Bello was a student in Lagos and was given a scholarship to study in the prestigious Conservatoire de Paris. The 33-year-old lady is a Nigerian soprano singer who performed at the soprano concert and sang a Puccini aria in the Moson Music School. This event took place in the country's economic capital, Lagos, Nigeria, and surprised many spectators, according to social media. The Moson Music School was founded in 1989 and is the main Nigerian institution for learning Western classical music. The director of the Moson Music School, Marion Akapata, doesn't see why opera couldn't flourish in Nigeria. Music has become part of us. Here, everything happens in music. A child is born, it's music. People die, it's music. And of course, all the activities that occur between life and death are accompanied by music. Omobello explains that if one associates his country with more Afrobeat, the development of the internet will create a new public for different musical styles from abroad. I didn't know how well I was known in Nigeria. I left the country for more than 10 years and things changed to a point that I did not realize. When I saw the crowd, I was surprised. A lot of people in Nigeria have discovered me on YouTube and social networks, and I have been surprised to see how beautiful opera is.
From culture to sports, Kenya celebrates its 54th Independence Day. The Jamhuri Day celebrates Kenya's independence from the United Kingdom on December 12, 1963. The Kasarani Stadium sheltered the celebrations. Listen to Gotiper Channel for more information.
The 60,000-seater Kasarani Stadium that was filled beyond capacity 2 weeks ago at the inauguration of President Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto was barely filled at the country independence Jamhuri celebrations. Jamhuri Day is one of Kenya's most important holidays due to its historical significance. It celebrates Kenya becoming a republic on December 12, 1964, and also marks Kenya's independence from the United Kingdom a year earlier on December 12, 1963. This year's Jamhuri Day was particularly significant because of the heated political environment that polarized the nation along ethnic lines following the contested presidential elections. Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto won the October 26 election with 98% of the votes cast after a defiant Raila Odinga of the opposition coalition NASA withdrew from the race citing unfulfilled electoral reforms. The result of the presidential election held on August 8 had been nullified by the Supreme Court after hearing the opposition's petition alleging irregularities and failure of the Electoral Commission to fully comply with the country's electoral laws. Kenyatta was therefore expected to continue addressing the need for integration, dialogue and harmonization of Kenyans at today's celebrations that will have coincided with Odinga's planned illegal inauguration as the people's president.
Once more, ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for this slight mix-up in the elements. It was due to technical reasons. Mohamed Aj and Bill Mange were at the production of this newscast. We thank you for watching and we thank you for choosing us to inform you. Stay tuned to Label Television and don't forget the best is yet to come. Goodbye.